as in Burglar, an unfortunate series of events. By Keith Lawson, 2024. All rights reserved. Also in ebook form.
There's a kind of pleasure, a private satisfaction, in being in someone's home without their knowledge, especially if they are also in the home. To creep about and investigate while they sleep innocently in their beds. I can stand and watch them, look for the REM movements of the eyes, anticipate whether they are heavy or light sleepers, likely to wake and disturb me in my intrusion. Empty houses are also fun. More time to look around, snoop. Not just find the money, but also the diaries, the secrets. I once found a... But I digress. I am an expert. Been doing this since a kid when I used to break into houses to steal food. If it's all right for Peter Rabbit, loved by millions, then what was the harm? Look for an open window, just enough for my child frame to squeeze through. A quick rummage round the kitchen and out. Eventually I worked up, learned how to pick locks. Easy to get a kit on the internet, no questions asked. All the right tools and practice locks. Found I was a natural. Get a kit of rakes, feeler picks, warded picks and a tension wrench. Would have loved the lockpick gun, but those are not so easy to obtain if not in the trade. Cash is good. Can't go wrong with cash. Untraceable. Have to have contacts to move credit cards or documents such as passports. Good money for those, but you have someone who can finger you if they get caught. They might plea bargain for a softer sentence by giving you up. Tempting to use now, contactless is possible, but stores have security cameras and it's a risk I don't want to take. For a burglar, I am particularly risk-averse. I don't do this for the adrenaline, but of course it comes. I need money so I am not made homeless. That is my motivation. The nice thing about burglary is the lack of worry over CCTV. You can wear a full balaclava when burgling, not something you can wear doing an ATM with stolen cards, too obvious and it draws attention from the great British public. Also, these days, cameras in every street, either on poles or filming outwards from shops. No, housebreaking is much easier. Even if an alarm, if you are quick in and out and have marked the escape routes, you won't have a problem. The police aren't speedy to respond. They're happy to turn up the following morning, take a report so the house owner can file an insurance claim. Yes, it's a good life. Until you rob the wrong person. My methodology is not to rob working-class homes. Those are my people. They don't have much to start with, and, proportionately, £10 is a lot to them from their earnings. Nor do the rich. They can afford home security, and, when I did try a few, found they're not cash people usually, having several credit cards. Best targets are the middle class. They like a bit of cash around, plus they own anonymous things I can sell at boot sales, such as CDs, DVDs. Just don't take anything too specialist that stands out on a boot sale table. Stick to the popular taste. Can take from their cocktail cabinets bottles for my home consumption. Chance of marijuana, especially if teenagers live at home. Take only enough to be deemed personal use as, if stopped and searched, never happened to me, but then I'm not black. That would likely just be a caution. But if I found coke, I'd spread it around. No coke user would then report me to the police with the chance they would actually visit and inspect for evidence. Otherwise, never leave the property in a mess. The shock of being burgled is enough, but making a mess as well is not my standard. Sorry, let me backtrack. The pleasure I had looking at sleeping people was not obscene. No, it was thinking how normal for some people this was, how peaceful their lives. I rarely slept in a bed as a child, it would be floor or sofa. I would think if only I'd been born into a normal family. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Until you rob the wrong person. I do have a job. I do leaflet drops for takeaways. My prime client is the Taj Mahal, but I also can do rounds for the Pizza Parlor, the Peking Palace and Johnny's Burgers. That enables me to check out targets as well as a bit more cash. But it's not well paid and the clients don't like multi-delivery of leaflets as they feel it's a competition for business, so no economy of scale. I wear gloves when delivering. If asked, I can say letterboxes are a bit hard on the hands, but no one has asked yet. Gloves equal no fingerprints. I have a tiny camera, the sort cyclists like on their helmets, that records the access to the property, and I check on Google Maps on my laptop when I get home. Look for detail, look for escape routes. I've thought this out. Should I ever get investigated as a suspect and they look at my computer, I'd say checking my routes for the leaflets. Saves shoe leather if I work out the best way round. Saves time too. What can change on Google is the street view. While they update the sky view by satellite, they've cut back on camera cars roaming our highways and byways. Anyway, they couldn't go down private roads, so a physical visit under the pretense of leaflet dropping is necessary, and those no junk mail notices. I just ignore them, as do all the other leaflet droppers. We have to get rid of our leaflets to houses, and if I've taken the trouble to walk down your drive, you're going to get one of my leaflets whatever. Maybe you'll be grateful anyway the day you fancy a curry and a leaflet comes through the letterbox. One extra bonus: if the letterbox noise or the leaflet through it reveals a dog in the house, I'll give it a miss. The day things went wrong for me, I was doing a nice little cul-de-sac, a circle of detached 3 to 4 bedroom houses. Not a real dead end for a pedestrian, as there was an alley through to another road where I stashed my bike behind a hedge. Just 2 streetlights to illuminate the paths. Cars on the drives were Audi, BMW and Mercedes, all indications of promising properties. 2 o'clock in the morning, I've waited and listened. No sounds, no barking dogs, no radios or TV, no lights on indoors, check the bathroom window especially. Any motion detection lights, I'd found those that were openly placed, and if one went on, well, all the people are in bed, or if one awake, they'd think cat or fox, not burglar. Felt the car bonnets, back of hand obviously, all cold, no one has just got home. It's a good time, people can be in their deepest sleep. Started at the first house on the left. That went well. Cleaned out a wallet and a purse, bottle of Glenfiddich and one of Bombay Sapphire gin, both nearly full. I left the bottles on the end of the drive to pick up later. Don't want glass chinking during the work. Second house. They'd left keys in the door but turned at 90 degrees. Means I couldn't pick those locks. Move on. Don't waste time and effort. My method is to do a small number of houses in the quickest possible time and get off home. Risks increase exponentially if one lingers. Third house, I hit the jackpot. Kitchen door was easy. I puffed in some graphite filings to smooth the lock mechanism, slipped in my 2 tools. One holds the tumblers once the other turns them until all in the open position, and used the wrench to turn as if a key were in. I like modern doors. Unlike wooden doors, they rarely have a bolt as well as a lock. Open the door and scan the kitchen for hazards before stepping in. No animal food bowls on the floor to indicate pets. NB, sometimes I'd check the bins to see what they threw out. Animal feed was a giveaway to what might be waiting inside. Listen, no sounds. Moonlight coming through the windows is not enough, so I switch on my low light torch. It's a good one. It has 3 strengths of beams and will also strobe. The last is good should I be seen or chased, as I can point it behind me as I run, and it's disorientating for the citizen or law officer. The layout of the ground floor was familiar to me, as the builder had used the same architect as others I had turned over, and there was very little variance between these houses. People just added a conservatory. In the hallway I could see a wallet on a side table, which gave me nearly £100, what I call a good start. The Wi-Fi router and main phone connection in was accessible, so I disabled those by unplugging. Just a precaution against internal Wi-Fi cameras. Check the lounge and start with the mantelpiece. Sometimes people leave cash there, an intention to buy something, pay the gardener cash in hand in the morning, those sort of things. Not today, though. I like to check the bookcases to see what the householder's preferred reading matter is. Gives me an idea of what sort of person I'm robbing. Nothing highbrow here. Dominance of crime thrillers and tacky romance novels. Not what I usually find in these pricey homes. They'd typically be some highbrow stuff and non-fiction to impress visitors. If I find 50 Shades of Grey, I am tempted to look at the woman in the house, curious about her sexual preferences. Is it all in her head, or will I find sex toys in the cupboard? Adds a little frisson to the adventure. Sorry, again going away from the story. In the study, a small room with all the signs of being a home office. A desk in front of the window with a computer and a printer. A filing cabinet to the side. Quick glance round, not expecting much, but wanting to try the desk drawers. I moved the chair out of the way and spotted there was a gym bag under the desk in the knee hole. Unusual, I thought. So I pulled it out and opened it. Extra jackpot. It was stuffed to bursting with rolls of used notes held together with elastic bands. Yes, not just a layer over something else, but completely full of cash and nothing else. Gave me pause to think, could this be to pay a ransom? Quick look round, photos of 2 adults only, no kids, and I could hear from the bottom of the stairs 2 snorers, 1 bass and 1 soprano, so both at home. Then this must be a guy who does cash in hand and don't tell the taxman. A business card in his wallet. He owns a taxi firm, Medway Taxis. Good cash business. Cream some off the top. Transferred the cash to my backpack. Well, thank you very much, sir. Saved me doing the rest of the houses in the cul-de-sac. So excited I forgot to go back for the whiskey and gin. Outside was clear. No insomniacs or late dog walkers in the wee hours. I went through the alley, collected my bike from behind the hedge and pedalled home, avoiding the shopping street with its cameras, keeping to back roads. A rare chance of police patrol cars, and I'd see them before they saw me. Got home safely and in high spirits. Home is a council flat on an estate. A 1-bed with kitchenette and lounge, sparsely furnished from skip diving and charity shops. Luxuries are a washing machine, refurbished single tub, second-hand, a portable telly, and my laptop, also refurbished. The cooker had been in the flat for as long as I could remember, and I had added a small microwave which I mostly used. When Mum left and eventually I realised she wasn't coming back, I was worried for a while a neighbour might tip off the council and have me evicted. That it never happened is probably down to nobody here wanted the council round. Some were subletting from the authorised tenants, others had lodgers, and I guess some were pleased that I was no trouble, and it was better than Mum with her constant visitors. Part of my routine, post-night outings, is to strip off 100% and it all goes in the wash, except the trainers, which get a wipe over and a spray with antibacterial cleanser. I'd read about a Frenchman, Edmond Locard, who said every crime scene leaves something on the criminal and every criminal leaves something at the crime scene, or words to that effect. I never bought expensive gear, especially trainers, always common brands, usually from Primark and sometimes from JJB Sports. Be like hundreds of other people, blend in. Any sole wear on the trainers that could mark them out to a match at one of my burglaries had I left a footprint, went in the shoe bank bin behind the shops. Let them be found on some other poor sod. I tipped the money out on the coffee table. Lots of large denomination notes. I should have done this earlier but thought the risk low. I checked for any tracking devices just in case. I had left the bag behind for that possible reason, but I had watched enough telly to know that sometimes a tracker can be placed between notes. Didn't find anything. All fitted with the cash-in-hand tax fiddler, and I was well made up with myself. This little mountain of cash mesmerized me. I'd never seen so much money at one time. Pinched myself to see if I was dreaming. Ouch. Notes were all used. This would keep me going for several months or longer if I didn't get carried away. I'd miss the adrenaline, yes, it was a bit of a buzz, but I wouldn't miss the night work. I might treat myself to a holiday, nothing grand, a couple of weeks in Bournemouth in a B&B. Too excited to sleep, I made a pot of tea and just lay on the battered sofa looking at the pile of money. 6 a.m. came round and I turned on the telly for the breakfast news, especially the regional, and, in between the celebrity sofa guff about their latest project, I muted the sound and listened to the local radio station. Not a word about my crime. Burglaries don't make the news, but I wondered if, this time, it might. At 9 o'clock, TV breakfast news ended, so I switched my laptop on and logged into the local network group. Checked regularly and nothing came up. At midday, I went down to the corner shop and bought the local rag. Absolutely silent. Best crime ever. Knock off a tax fiddler, he couldn't call the police. As for the first householder, the police would have shrugged it off as kids, given him a crime notice for his insurers, and that was the end of it. I'd even had some burglaries claimed by other thieves who the cops had persuaded to own them in return for consideration when sentencing. It helped clear up the crime rates, and, being cash robberies, there was no property to be returned to the householder. For now, I hid the cash around my flat, needing several hiding places seeing as there was so much. I knew to be careful. Don't go flashing the cash, buying rounds in the pub, treating myself to bling jewellery, be the same old low-income, leaflet-delivering guy everyone knew. Don't draw attention to myself. A week passed, and I did the next leaflet drop for the Indian, then said I had to go away for a while as my uncle down south was seriously ill and had no one to look after him. They understood and said they'd do it themselves till I came back, as I was such a good worker. If only they knew my motive for covering such large areas frequently. I packed basics. Rather than carry a large suitcase, I could buy changes of clothes at my destination. I was sure Bournemouth would have a Primark. Mostly, I put a few stacks of cash under my items so I could have a good time when no one knew me. I caught a bus to the train station, a nice little ride where I gazed at the shops and offices through the bus window. Bye-bye, you won't be seeing me for a while. Then I was jerked out of my revelry by the driver.
You'll have to get out here. They're not letting me through.
We passengers disembarked to walk the last 100 yards to the rail station. That was when I remembered where I knew Medway taxis from. It was the building opposite the station, with a taxi rank. It was the building that had been on fire and was receiving gallons of water courtesy of the fire service. Looked a total wreck. Police had closed the road to traffic. I joined the Gorpers at the police tape and listened to various conversations.
It started early this morning. Heard a copper say it was arson. Know the owner, probably did it for the insurance.
Remember him from way back, when he ran with the Morrison gang. Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke. I had to take this all in. Was it just a coincidence, or was it related somehow to my success at his house? I needed to think, and I needed research. The Greasy Spoon Cafe down the road was doing all-day breakfast, so I popped in. The conversations there were along the same lines. Worse, some of the customers here were taxi drivers.
Reckon he crossed the wrong crowd. We all know he was fronting for the Morrisons, doing their money laundering. Shush. You know what will happen to you if you go round saying these things. Yeah. You got medical insurance? You'll need it with your big mouth.
Shit. Not a tax fiddler, a money launderer, for the local mob, the mob who broke legs for fun. I'd lost my appetite for the breakfast and for the holiday and headed back to my flat to think more. Now I have contacts in the underworld. I like referring to the sad bag of pickpockets, shoplifters, muggers as underworld. It adds a bit of glamour to these dregs of society if I am to mix with them. I don't really like these people, but I know them. They drink at my local, the Highwayman, which we refer to as the Mugger, in the recent trend for breweries to rename their pubs, but more as a protest against the prices. The locals are on the fringe of the big bad boys, heavies like the Morrisons, the leg breakers, arsonists, drug dealers, white slavers, also known as the Morrisons. People you do not want to cross. You don't end up in motorway bridges anymore. Purely because we're not building new motorways. No. You end up off a pier or deep in a forest. Fingers missing, teeth smashed out, head pulped. Just thinking about it, I let a little bit of pee out. Medway Taxi's owner, name unknown but perhaps Medway, must not have been able to replace the bag of money quick enough. It was in the high thousands. First warning to him, burn his place of business down. Next warning might involve pliers, cables and a car battery. Morrisons were not shy, and their chief torturer, Billy the Prod Murphy, actually enjoyed his work, so it was rumoured. My dilemma: do I find a way to return the money via Medway, get him off the hook and no one looking for me? Or do I keep the biggest haul of my life and move away for a new life, where I can't be found? I could burgle for a year and not collect this much. I regretted leaving the Glenfiddich. A stiff drink would not go amiss, so I headed to the Highwayman. The Highwayman is a run-down public house serving my neighbourhood. To check the last time it was decorated, one would need to bring in archaeologists. Nicotine still stuck to the walls and ceiling despite the ban of indoor smoking being years old. The jukebox did not have any record more recent than the 80s. Blunt darts were available if one fancied a chance at the worm-eaten dartboard, but the pool table was not in bad nick if one avoided the warped cues and found a straight one. It was a drinker's pub and a refuge. Inside were the usual reprobates: Dinky Thompson, car thief, my age, nursing a pint of Guinness. In the corner, Wilma, local slag, not starting work until afternoon, short skirt riding up to reveal the cellulite. Johnny and Annie, the shoplifting Bonnie and Clyde as they saw themselves, rather than two sad gits doing the easy stuff. I nodded to them as I walked to the counter where Big Willie Donovan waited to serve me. Big Willie was 6 feet 4 inches and weighed as much as a silverback gorilla. No one was sure whether Big Willie was due to his size and forename being William, or whether his equipment was in scale to his overall dimensions. I was about to order a double scotch when I realised in time this was out of character to me and would draw attention. Quickly I changed the words tumbling from my mouth to pint of lager and cheese and onion, please, Bill. Close call. That showed how rattled I was. Pint and crisps in hands, I wandered over to where Fingers Malloy sat. Fingers is about the only one here I actually like. He taught me how to play chess, and I sometimes feel like confiding in him. He has that trustworthy priest vibe about him. Then again, Fingers is a pickpocket. Does crowds, any event. Loves Trafalgar Square, protest marches, London Underground in rush hour. Fingers is also pretty good at ringing the changes. Looking different, so he's not easily noticeable on CCTV, which is pretty much everywhere in the smoke now. NB. I wondered why London was also known as the Smoke, until an old boy told me of the days of pea supers before the Clean Air Act. I looked it up on the internet. It was awful back then, but the name has stuck among certain members of society who still pine for the old days. Straightening up the beer mats. I hated them just thrown down and not all facing the right way. I struck up a conversation. Hi, Fingers. How's it going?
Hi, Marty. Bit quiet at the moment. Miss Chelsea Flower Show this year. Down with flu.
That's tough. I heard Medway Taxis was burned down.
Saw it on the news just now.
I turned round to see the TV over the bar was actually on the news. Yeah. Me too. Don't know anyone working there.
Know a couple of fellas. They give me lifts from time to time. Avoid buses, see? Cameras on them now.
Good thinking. Too soon for the rumour mill. I'd have to be patient, bide my time, watch my step. Fingers?
Yeah?
Would you teach me how to lift a wallet?
Why you want to do that?
Handy to have a trade to fall back on. Leaflet dropping doesn't pay that well. If it wasn't for the free bolters, I'd pack it in.
Been doing this since I was a kid. Needs lots of practice and nerve. Ain't like that scene in Oliver, got to pick a pocket or two. Feel my hands.
Bit queer here, but I did take Fingers' hands in mine. They were so smooth, not soft, but no calluses, scars, roughness. Nails perfectly manicured short. My eyebrows rose in question.
Can't afford to snag when dipping. Light touch needed. Have to watch my hands. Gloves to protect when doing any chores. Lots of lotion. Wilma gives me the manicures. I bet you didn't know she was good at that.
No. We've only talked once, when she offered me a half-price blowjob seeing as I was local.
You might enjoy that. She takes her dentures out. Completely new sensation.
Fingers laughed so much he started to choke, and as his glass was empty, he reached for mine and took a swallow of my lager. I had a job keeping the bit I had drunk down. Wilma waved to us, as if she had heard the conversation. What Fingers had said about Oliver did give me an idea, though. I was pretty deft with the lock-picking tools, sensitive to the sensation of resistance of tumblers and when one moved. If I took care of my hands, perhaps I could dip. I'd practiced with a jacket over the back of a chair. An embryo of an idea was forming. If I could lift some car keys, I could slip the money into the boot. I wouldn't go back to the house. Too risky. Mr. MT might have installed security systems or got a Rottweiler since, not so much for a burglar returning, but to warn of a visit from any of the Morrison thugs. I decided to give the money back. I was doing okay with my cash, CD, DVD, booze heists, and keeping all my fingers, teeth, and good looks. On balance, being a complete human outweighed being a rich one. Yes, straight back to the flat and start practicing. Time was of the essence. Well, this is fucking hard. I draped a jacket, part of my suit for interviews, weddings and funerals, thankfully never needed for court appearances, over a dining chair and put items in the pockets. As this was chair height, I had to go in on my knees, which affected my balance. Side pockets had flaps, so it was lift and dip. Bloody hard. I started to admire Fingers more for earning a living this way. I'd seen stage pickpockets on the TV and they took wallets, watches, etc. with so much ease. I'd never master this in a week. Did I have a plan B? After a pot of tea and much gazing out of the window, I did. I'd need a middleman. Not Mr. Medway Taxis, but someone connected to the Morrisons. If I can find a way to lift their car keys, ideally by breaking into their house, getting the keys and leaving the money in the boot, return the keys and disappear into the night. Who, though? Getting hungry, so I went to the Taj, told them Uncle had made a full recovery and I'd be working on Friday. Meanwhile, can I have a Balti? While waiting, my eyes fell upon the notice board. Not something I had perused before, but this time I was drawn to a tacked flyer for Medway Taxis and a dispenser of business cards. Light bulb moment. I'll put a card in with the cash, big arrow as it were, to the origins. Taking several cards and my curry, I went back to my flat. Actually, Mum's flat, but she'd buggered off years ago and I continued to pay the rent in her name, and no one from the council was the wiser. I was raised by a single parent. Raised, I use the term loosely. Mum had a habit to feed and I had lots of uncles coming to the flat. That was when I cleared off to the local library, which proved my sanctuary. Lovely warm place and books about everything. I'd spend hours there. I only have to have a sniff of beeswax polish and I'm there, mentally, in an instant. The female librarians were lovely people and so keen to help me find books. The head librarian was a Captain Mannering type, fussy little man, thin moustache and self-important, strutting about. He would frown at me if he saw me there for hours. I had more education at the library than I got at school. I particularly liked Raffles, author E.W. Hornung, and a guy known as Blackshirt, author Bruce Graham, both burglars. The Saint, author Leslie Charteris, was another hero. These were the most exciting role models. I started housebreaking in order to eat. Mum would forget to buy groceries or would not have money. Houses had fridges and pantries, and I'd fill myself. After a while, when I had first seen the tenors on the hall table, probably to pay the milkman or newspapers, I lifted them so I could buy a hot meal. I felt guilty for a time. Taking food because I was hungry did not seem wrong. People had plenty, and I had nothing through no fault of my own. Money seemed so wrong, but once I had done it, I felt I was redirecting from the taxman, cutting out the middlemen from benefits and taking direct, saving all that admin. Easy to justify things when you're at the bottom. It's called surviving. In the evening, I popped down the highwayman for a pint and game of pool. The usuals were there, minus 1 or 2 in custody. I'd won 2 games off Dinky when Mickey the Hammer walked in. Mickey was a sort of local legend, though not in a good way. I'd first known him as the school bully. He was 3 years ahead of me, so I was able to keep out of his way most of the time. Eventually, he was expelled for hitting a teacher, not missed by anyone. Not the brightest of pond life, but the Morrisons had given him employment. He was the hammer because that was how he broke kneecaps for them. Mickey brought his beer and whiskey chaser over to the pool table.
Hello, Dinky. Hello, Punk.
Mickey.
Mickey.
Who's up for a game?
I was quicker than Dinky. Dinky is. I gotta go soon. Dinky gave me a stink eye. The golden moment came. I couldn't have hoped for a better chance. Mickey took his coat off and draped it over a chair. I felt confident about pickpocketing a coat on a chair after the morning's practice. I let them get into their game before I casually felt outside the pockets to identify where his car keys were. In the poorly lit highwayman, only the best light was over the table and both were concentrating on their game. Mickey to win, Dinky to lose, but not be obvious about it. The keys were in my hand. Heart beating madly, I was sure everyone could hear it. Looking around, no one was giving any notice to me. I was quietly out of the pub, then legged it back to the flat. I collected all the cash into a bin bag, then legged it back to the pub. I knew Mickey's car. It was the only decent car on the street, being nearly new and not a banger. Casually approaching, checking around, all clear. I used the key to open the boot rather than blip. Good, no alarm going off. The boot lid raised, I was ready to drop the bin bag of money in when I realized the boot was already full. Wrapped in a plastic sheet, I could just make out the features of Mr. Medway Taxis as I'd seen his photo on the news. Oh shit. Oh fuck, they'd topped him. I'd left it too long. Fuck. Think. Running around in little circles, crying was not helping. Anyone could come out of the highwayman at any moment. Mickey the Hammer could come out of the highwayman and find me standing by the open boot of his car. Shut the boot. What else? The keys? I can't go back in with them. Leave them on the floor. Hope Mickey thinks he dropped them. Bugger off quick back to the flat. No sleep this night, thinking about the Morrisons. They'd killed someone for losing their money. Sent out a message. No doubt they'd kill whoever took it. No one crossed the Morrisons. Even the East European gangs steered clear. They'd grown up in the neighborhood. Their dad had been a docker, not for the wage but for the perks. Every cargo had something missing once it passed through the docks. He was a man of temper and fists, and therefore had a fearful reputation. He raised his sons to be hard bastards. Probably had photos of the Krays on the bedroom walls instead of pop stars and actors. Tommy and Tony were only 1 year different in ages, but everyone thought they were twins, being such a likeness of each other and never seeing one without the other. As kids, they'd walk into a shop, brazenly take what they wanted, and dared anyone to intervene. As adults, this became a protection racket. Shops paid up not to be molested. Their business had to be services, and payrolls didn't move by armored vehicle anymore. They modeled on the Prohibition era of America. Give the public what they want: prostitutes, drugs. They ran a club with illegal gambling upstairs. They scammed by setting up businesses, hiring an innocent frontman, filling warehouses with stock which they paid for until they got a good credit rating. Overstocking, then empty the warehouse at night, leaving the mug to take the hit. We didn't need Curry's electrical retailers in our neck of the woods. You placed your order at the pub and it got delivered for cash that evening. These were the people I got involved with, and now I was stuck with thousands of their money and no plan C. I must have dozed in the armchair because suddenly it was morning and my doorbell was ringing furiously. Wiping the sleep from my eyes, I stumbled my way to the door and opened without using the view hole first, only being half awake.
Hello, Marty. Mind if I come in?
Can I change my underpants first?
Always the comedian.
Mickey said, brushing past me and going into the main room. Well, I nearly needed clean underwear. and I can only presume failure to eat since yesterday lunchtime my bowels were already empty.
Right, dimwit. Someone lifted my motor last night while I was in the highwayman.
Unbloody believable. I had placed the keys by the car door so Mickey would see them, and some moron had come along and taken the car with the body in the boot for a joyride. I don't know anything.
Didn't see anyone acting suspicious when you left? No one hanging about?
Street was empty. I came straight home, knackered, long day, got to go out soon, deliver leaflets for the Taj. I suppose Mickey was used to people being flustered around him, so didn't pay particular attention to me.
I've got to find it and find it quick. No questions asked.
He reached in his pocket. I expected a hammer and wondered if I could run past him when he pulled out a roll of notes.
Here's 50.
Peeling 5 tenors off the roll.
There's another 50 if you can find it. Tell no one about this and phone me on this number.
He pulled my sleeve up and wrote a mobile number in biro on my forearm.
Remember, tell no one. Get out and find it for me.
You can rely on me, Mickey. He left, and I really did need to use the loo. Going on the round of leaflet dropping for the Taj gave me time to think. Did Mickey suspect me, and this was some sort of ruse? Nah, he's not that bright. Was he tasked with disposing of a body but took time out for a drink and a game of pool? Yeah, he's that stupid. But who's stupid enough to nick a newish motor in our hood? Newish means it's either a copper's car or a crook's car. Both reasons why it should be untouchable. Mickey should have been able to have left it unlocked. Keys in ignition, Apple phone on the passenger seat, wallet on the window shelf, and come back hours later to find everything as it was. It can only be Simple Willie. Simple Willie is special educational needs. Can't read or write, but somehow learned to drive. He's a natural racing driver. He's the only person who would not recognize the danger signs and could not pass up a lovely motor for a bit of a spin. Would he have looked in the boot? Maybe. Probably not. For SW it was all about the driving. Not so simple he'd have parked outside his house. He'll have hidden it up somewhere. An abandoned plot behind empty businesses, so he can go back and have another drive tonight. A routine until it runs out of fuel, then he leaves it where it can be found and returned to the owner. Did Mickey have a full tank? Likely, if he was supposed to go out of London to bury a corpse in a forest. I can go round to Simple's place, get the keys and get him to tell me where the car is, but that would place him at risk. Would Mickey worry Simps had looked in the boot? Had I looked in the boot? Do the Morrisons know that Mickey has lost his car and the body of Mr. Medway taxis? Reason suggests I help Mickey and no one mentions this ever again. If Tommy and Tony find out, they're not like the police. There are no rules for interrogation. They'd start with Mickey, he'll say he told me. They'd take me somewhere secluded for Prod to question me. I'd tell them everything, and then I'd be a body in a boot, squeezed over to make room for Simple. Only one solution. I'd have to nick the car back from Simple. He'd move on and forget all about it in a week. Mickey would be shitting himself because I'd tell him I couldn't find the car. I'd have to drive out to the woods, bury the body, drive somewhere else and torch the car. Morrisons might think Mickey was clever enough to torch his own car to defeat any forensics. Not my problem if they didn't. Time is of the essence. Rather an appropriate phrase that. It comes from legal documents where there is a commitment to a timescale for completion. Read that in a library book. The clock is ticking is also appropriate. I'd have to check out all possible locations for the car to be stashed. Walking distance from Simple's pad, or would he catch a bus? Hope for the former and work outwards from his house. Google Maps is very useful, and I could look for industrial sites where there is little activity, that is none of those little flags popping up to show where a business is located. If I find the car, I can break into Simple's and nick back the keys. I might need new bike tyres after this. Been pedalling miles, cross-quartering the neighbourhood, moving out further, almost missed it. The chain on the gates was hanging as if locked, but I noticed the padlock was missing. A small engineering business had been here once. Empty buildings with broken windows and a yard not visible from the road. Praying, I went through the gates after removing the chain and, round the corner, invisible from the road, was Mickey's motor. Had I been a religious man, I'd have fallen to my knees to praise God and sacrificed a couple of the pigeons that were crapping on the bonnet. Pulling on gloves, I checked round the car, hoping Simple had left the keys, but no joy. Car was fully locked. A good sign was that there was no damage to the vehicle and the tyres were okay. If I get the keys, I can drive away. I'd have to stake out Simple's place, break in when he went out, and hope to find the keys indoors. I had to get over there immediately. Who knew when my chance would come? I rode like a madman back to the hood, stopping only at a corner shop to get a Fanta Mars bar and packet of crisps for sustenance. I could observe Simple's place from Wasteland down the road. I don't know how he got a mid-terrace to himself, but I knew he lived on his own. I think it was a scheme called independent living, aided by a charity. Nice he got help, but a bit crap I had to manage by myself. Anyway, just needed him to go out on an errand to give me enough time. It occurred to me that his next outing might be this evening to joyride. I didn't have a plan for that. Could I mug Simple wearing my balaclava? He's not a wimp and would probably kick my butt. Maybe it's time to believe in a merciful God and pray. Plenty of time to think, sitting there, eating my Mars bar and glugging the Fanta. Perhaps the sugar helped, but I had an idea. Should Simple not go out until evening, I'd let the air out of a tyre, knock on his door and ask if he had a bicycle pump. Then I asked to use the loo, locate the keys and pocket them. A bit more of a risk, as he might associate my visit with disappearing keys. I wanted to be totally invisible to anyone following the trail of the car and the body, but risks have to be taken to avoid disasters. A reason why I was doing this on my own and not asking Dinky the car thief is that he cries when he breaks a fingernail. So I didn't want him knowing my secrets and meeting Prod or Mickey. An hour later, I let the air out of my tyre and pushed my bike towards Simple's when he came out the front door and walked away from me. I looked at my flat tyre in disbelief, but shook myself out of the pity, put the bike down and got my lockpicks ready. It was a simple lock, and I was inside in seconds. I didn't know how long I'd got, so I ran round the rooms looking on surfaces for car keys. Not a bloody sign. Simple must have then in his pocket. I walked to the front door to let myself out, and there, on a hook, were the keys. I'd run straight past them. Open the door, stick head out, look up and down the street, all clear, out and away. I had to push my bike home as I didn't have a pump on me. I was knackered when I got in. All that cycling, then the adrenaline of the break-in, followed by a slog pushing the bike, which I immediately pumped up the tyre to be ready. Note to self, take a pump with you in future. I had a shower to remove all the sweat and changed into clean, common clothes, grabbed a protein bar and Red Bull into my backpack, 2 bus rides to the abandoned building. I approached nonchalantly and carefully, looking for signs of observation. Everything looked normal, but with a professional team, coppers or gang, it would. Car looked untouched except for even more pigeon crap. I got in. Silence. Inserted the key. Prayed to goodness knows which deity. Started the engine and waited for the blues and twos as police swooped in and Jack Regan of the Sweeney saying, "You're nicked, sonny." Didn't happen. Exhaled. Drove extremely carefully. No speeding. Always signalling a turn. Holding my breath every time I saw a police car. Left outer London behind and came to a forested area with no traffic. This would do for the body dump. Realization. I hadn't a spade for digging. Would Mickey have one in the boot, perhaps under the body? I might have to use a tyre iron to scoop out a trench and cover the body with undergrowth. I was sweating and yet to do any exertion. The forest was quiet except for rustling of the trees and a little night chorus from invisible birds. It was rather nice in any other circumstances. I need to get out of town more, I told myself. Stealing my nerves, I popped the boot open. It's empty. What the fuck? I actually looked round the boot, as if the dead man could have rolled into a corner. This didn't make sense. If Simple heisted the car for joyriding, why would he look in the boot? Why would he move the body? Then again, why wouldn't he? If he found a body in the boot, he wouldn't want to be driving around with it in case stopped by the police. Time to drive back to London, park the motor and phone Mickey to say I found it and give him the location. After that, not my business. I drove back equally as carefully as the journey out. I could pass my driving test, I was so good. I parked the motor in a road with no houses, and the businesses closed for the night. Dropped the keys down a drain on the assumption Mickey would have a second set. Walked down the road to give myself some distance before I made the call. On rolling up my sleeve for Mickey's number, I was stunned not to see it. Then the penny dropped. The shower. I'd washed the ink off. Not a sign, not a scratch mark, perfectly clean. Screwed. How do I get Mickey to pick up his car? If it gets towed and coppers take a look at it, how much forensic is there in it? Edmund Fickin Locard is laughing at me from his grave. I'd assumed that Mickey would have it valeted and look respectable, enough for the police not to be involved. Now the future was uncertain. Was there trace on the body from the car, and if the murder squad matched, I don't know, carpet fibres to this make and model, and then their computers said, abandoned car found in Stratford? Where is the body? Where might Simple have stashed it? How soon before it gets discovered? How long before I can find it? And maybe I should bleach the car or torch it. How long is a piece of string? I think I was starting to hallucinate. Anxiety was tying my guts in knots. All was going to hell in a handcart. My life was on the line now. No matter if the coppers got me, I'd still be a corpse once the Morrisons learned of my part in nicking the money, the first domino to fall. Mr. Medway Taxis was on my conscience. Okay, he was a bad man but did not deserve to be tortured and murdered. I couldn't put that genie back in the bottle, but maybe I could survive for now and get some vengeance later for amends. Knackered still. Long walk home last night. Lack of sleep, tossed and turned. I tried peppermint tea, refreshing but not sleep-inducing. Looking in the mirror, I had rings round my eyes, dark circles from sleep deprivation and worry. If only I could turn the clock back. Would returning the money be enough? I doubt it. The Morrisons would want to know who was on to their money laundering, who was the partner of Mr. MT, and who cleaned him out. He couldn't talk under interrogation because he didn't know. Mickey had involved me now, and he wouldn't protect me once the battery clips were attached to his testicles. Simple knew something, but he didn't know what he knew. If the body were found and forensics linked to Simple, was he on police records? He'd cough that he lifted the motor from outside the highwayman. The motor would be in Mickey's name. Why hadn't he reported it stolen? What was it doing with the body in the boot? Would I be involved? Interviewed by Plod about the events in the pub that night? I'd be on police radar, having worked hard never to be. When they moved on, would I be invited to meet Tommy and Tony? They'll send a car for you. If Plod found the body, identified it as Mr. Medway Taxis and spoke to the widow, what might she say? Would the neighbours' burglary report flash up on their computer screen? Had the burglar seen anything that night? Was the burglar involved in some way? All I needed was some career cop out to make a name for himself to be that diligent. Basically, I decided I was well and truly fucked. Do a runner? Nice bundle of cash, but not enough for early retirement. Where would I go? I don't know anywhere as well as the East End. Turn myself in? Would I get witness protection? Unlikely. All I know is Mickey had a body in his car. I suspect money laundering, but I don't have any proof to offer up. No way can I tie this to the Morrisons. I'd be sent down to prison where the Morrisons know people and I'd end up bleeding out in the shower. Top myself? Nah. Too extreme. My reverie was interrupted by a hammering on the door. Oh God, they know it's me. Mickey's voice.
Open up, dimwit. I'm not standing out here all day.
That was only one setting lower than kicking the door in, but I had no resistance and opened it.
Christ, you look like shite.
A touch of flu, and being out all night looking for your wheels.
Anything?
Not a sign. Probably been chopped and parts off abroad by now. Mickey gave me a look. He knew this couldn't be the case, but he couldn't say that to me.
Not a word?
Zilch! But I couldn't ask, just listen. Ears to the ground, like... Why did I say ears? You can only put one ear to the ground at a time.
Okay, say nothing to nobody. Don't want to be a laughing stock for losing my motor. Get it?
Of course, Mickey. Lips are sealed. Not a word to anybody. Mickey was too dumb to see I'd corrected his grammar. I'll take small victories where I can at the moment. He stared into my eyes as if to see the truth there. I guess he saw real fear, so he was satisfied.
I'll have my 50 quid back then, seeing as you were useless.
Wasn't going to argue. Handed over 5 tenors. He left, and I collapsed against the closed front door, unable to move for several minutes. What had changed in those few minutes? Was I off the hook? Could I let matters unfold as they wanted? In the lack of a credible plan, that was the plan. Carry on as normal. Don't draw attention to myself. Should I have breakfast now? Instead, I went into the bathroom and threw up. Later, after a kip, I cleaned my flat thoroughly. 2 trips out to buy bleach and air fresheners as I sanitized it so no trace of Mickey the Hammer visiting would be found. Any clothing I had worn since the night of the burglary went into bin bags and down to the rubbish skips. I'd buy replacements from Primark with cash, bash them around a bit so they lost their new look. Maybe I'd try charity shops first, though I suspect they didn't have much a young person would wear. I reformatted the hard drive on my laptop 3 times, hoping that was enough to remove any files or search history. I'll get a new phone with a new number. Too much information with phones. I suspect my locations can be seen and matched to places I didn't want people to know where I'd been. That was why I never took it when housebreaking. Much better, it suggests I was at home all night should I ever be pulled in. I need to set up a run bag. Untraceable phone, cash, and change of clothes in case I have to leg it. Railway station lockers are dubious. Too much CCTV because of terrorism. But I could rent a postbox in one of those high street locations, maybe a couple, and post what I need to myself. Get into Jason Bourne mode. For now, though, stay in character and do what I usually do, go to the pub. The highwayman was having a decent trade. Big Willie had spread fresh sawdust so it didn't smell so much as usual. Dinky was there and gave me a bit of verbal going over before I bought him a pint and let him win a couple of games of pool. It was turning into a nice evening where I could forget my troubles when it all went quiet after I heard the door open. Turning, I could see Tommy and Tony Morrison. Savile Row suits, camel hair overcoats, immaculately groomed, in our pub. They stood just inside the doorway for a second or two, then strolled over to the bar. Big Willie was sweating profusely. Even Ali from the corner shop had turned white, and that wasn't easy for him. Tommy spoke.
2 large whiskies. Single malt if you have it.
Big Willie used the optic under the teachers, you don't find single malt in this pub, and placed the glasses in front of Tommy and Tony. It took a second to sink in that he wasn't going to get paid.
On the house.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Both brothers simultaneously turned and faced the room, a tangible menace. Tony spoke.
We're looking for Mickey. Heard he comes here occasionally.
Whether it was Big Willie's warp speed look in our direction or Dinky dropping his pool cue, but suddenly we were the centre of attention. I tried to edge away from Dinky and let him handle this alone, but Tommy's eyes froze me to the spot. The Morrisons seemed to grow larger as they walked nearer.
Know anything, lads?
Dinky found his voice. Mine had emigrated to Siberia or somewhere remote and wasn't coming back any time soon.
Yeah, He dropped by for a game of pool. Night before last, wasn't it, Marty?
I nodded furiously.
Say anything?
No. Had a couple of beer chasers and a few games. Didn't seem in a hurry to go.
Tommy looked at me.
What about you?
Me? No, I left. Needed an early night. Big day yesterday. Delivering leaflets. Tommy didn't break his stare. I felt he could read all my secrets. Finally, after too long a silence.
Okay. Well, let us know if he comes in. We're worried about him.
They left, and the bar crowd let out a collective sigh. Big Willie looked at the 2 untouched whiskies, then downed them one after another. I went to the loo to finish the pee I had started. So Mickey had done a runner. There was nothing on the news about his car or a body. He'd been tasked to dispose of a corpse and bottled it. He'd come in the highwayman for some Dutch courage, and a game of pool had been a minor distraction for him, procrastination. If he could disappear completely, that was a strand leading to me that was broken. I could get back to my simple life. Except simple wasn't going to let me. I was doing a round of leaflet drops for the Taj and everything was normal. I wasn't casing anywhere, as this was a district of low-income terraces overlooked by the high-rise ghettos. I was pushing a leaflet advertising the Curry Kings when a door opened with my hand still in the letterbox.
Hello, Marty.
Hello, Sim. Willie, what you doing here?
This is my Nan's house. Come in and say hello.
Bit busy, Willie. Another time.
No. Now.
And he grabbed my arm and pulled me through. In what passed as a lounge, a grey little figure sat huddled on a chair with a cat by her feet. I knew cats lived here before I saw one. The smell of litter was unmistakable.
Nan, this is Marty. He's my friend.
I felt it wouldn't be polite to correct him, and I let it pass.
He's going to help me.
That didn't sound good. The old lady spoke.
Get him out. Get him out.
I took that as a cue. Bye then, Willie. But he had a firm grip on my arm still, and Willie was not a wimp.
No. You have to help.
He steered me to a bathroom where, laid in the bath, was the plastic-wrapped body of Mr. Medway Taxis. Greener than I had last seen him, but still recognizable. Christ, Willie, what have you done?
We've got to move him, Marty. Nan won't use the bathroom while he's here.
Maybe that wasn't cat litter I had smelled. My problem had returned, with dividends. I was now linked again to the Morrisons and their business. Once the initial shock was over, I took Willie into the kitchen for a discussion. We could still hear Nan in the lounge.
Get him out of here.
Willie, what happened? My strategy was to play ignorant, as if this was the first time Mr. Medway Taxis and I were acquainted.
He was in the car.
What car, Willie? What car?
The one by the highwayman.
Maybe I could become an actor. I felt I was doing well here, even though it was only simple Willie I had to fool. I rubbed my face as if I didn't understand and patiently took Willie through a statement, perhaps thinking that one day soon he might be talking to the police. Take it from the beginning. There was a car by the highwayman.
Yes.
And?
The keys were on the floor. The driver must have dropped them.
Yes, I suspect that is exactly what happened. The driver dropped them. Reinforce that image in Willie's head.
It was a nice car. I don't find nice cars. I took it for a drive.
And?
When it was time to come home, I parked it in my special place.
Special place? Where is that, Willie?
Not saying.
I needed Willie to tell me. I needed the answer. Oh, that place. Willie told me about it, just in case. You'd better tell me, Willie, or how can I help you? Willie thought about it. Thought about it for a while, and I was getting frustrated. Then he told me the name of the business and the street. Time to move on from the car, I didn't want Willie thinking about the car not being there now and the keys disappearing from his key hook in his hallway. So where does the body come into this? Did you kill the driver? Rambling a bit, but my intention was to muddy the waters as much as possible for any future event.
No, he was in the boot. I didn't want him in the boot, so I brought him here and put him in Nan's bath. Now she's angry with me as she's frightened to use the bathroom.
What are you going to do, Willie? Shall we phone the police? Mental projection, the answer, Willie, is no.
No, no police.
Darren Brown has a rival in me. So, what is the plan?
You take him away, Marty.
Maybe not ready to take Darren Brown on yet. Didn't see that coming. He's too heavy for my bike, Willie. Did I sound hysterical?
I'll get another car, Marty. We'll drop him in the river.
This is not good. This is very bad. Instead of being in the clear, I was now involved in covering up a crime, illegally disposing of a body, crossing the Morrisons. I dropped the keys to Mickey's car down the drain. Even if the car was still there, we couldn't access the boot to replace the body. Get a car, Willie. I'll come back tonight when it's dark. Leaving now, I had a few hours to think about what to really do. If I made an anonymous call to the police, what would happen? Would Willie tell his tale as he told me and not mention my name? If we move the body and dump in the river, what next? Float away? Sink? Never found? Found soon? Police suspect Morrisons? Is there already some thread linking them? Some intelligence on a police computer? Mickey in the wind. Doubt very much whether he killed the guy, but he might have been a witness. Mr. Memti would have been tortured by the prod first. The brothers wanted their money back. I needed a supervillain to help me, but they are in short supply around here. You only find them in the comic books at the newsagents. Light bulb moment? Become a supervillain. Not in reality, but myth. Spread a rumor that there was a new force for evil in the city. Al Capone has been resurrected. Don't call me Scarface. Also spread evidence around. So much evidence that the real evidence gets hidden like leaves in a forest. Feeling perked up, I headed to the highwayman. The main topic of conversation was still what were the Morrisons up to? And where's Mickey the Hammer? Was it to confuse people that the Morrisons cared but had really topped him? I liked that. It fed into my plan of smoke and mirrors. I wonder if Mickey was about to squeal. Drop that into the conversation, then move away. Let the rumour mill start. Heard that the Morrisons are worried about a new gang muscling in on their turf. Another rumour drop. Move away before anyone asks me where I heard or what more did I know. Sat down with Dinky. Hi, Dinks. How's trade?
Keeping my head down. Had a visit from the prod. Had I seen Mickey's car?
Fuck, Dinks. What'd he do to you?
Bought me a Guinness. Just a professional courtesy call that I might have seen or heard something, seeing as I am in the car business.
I could have punched Dinky for giving me such a scare, but then I realised this was all working to my benefit. Mickey was suspected, or it was feared someone had got to him. If I could rely on him not coming back ever, it was good news. Head home and get on the computer. I needed to know what happened if the police towed a vehicle away. Thank goodness for Google. I now know that when the police impound a vehicle, they send a form to the registered owner telling him or her where to collect, and how and what fine to pay. If not collected within 14 days, they dispose of it. I guess that is by auction. So where does that leave me now? If it has been towed, a form has either gone to Mickey's address or to whichever business the car was registered to. Would Morrisons have reported it stolen if a business car? Probably not. They could always fall back, till we hadn't missed it until you got in touch, officer. Yes, it does appear to have been stolen. I know the body is no longer in it, but neither the Morrisons nor Mickey do. They might worry that, acting on the form to collect, they'd be walking into a trap. They would rely on stolen then. However, they would be desperate to locate Mickey as the weak link. Mickey would be good as dead if he returned, so I guess he's put the miles in to get as far away as possible. How does all that change if Mr. MT is or isn't found? I hadn't worked that out by the time the sun had set and I was ready to go back to Simple Willie's Nan's place. As I opened my flat door to leave, I was thrust back inside by the huge form of Mickey the Hammer. Instead of the nice suits he was prone to wear, he was in a tracksuit and a beanie, unshaven and smelly. "Mickey, what are you doing here?"
I need your help, Marty. You're the only person I can trust.
I had no response to that.
Got anything to drink?
There's a Red Bull in the fridge. Not his tipple, then.
I'm in trouble, Marty. I fucked up for the Morrisons.
I gathered that. They came to the highwayman looking for you.
Oh, shit. I was supposed to do a job and I blew it.
Where have you been?
I bought these clothes from JJB and been sleeping rough. Got nowhere to go.
I looked at my watch. Time I should have been with Willie. Look, take a bath. I'll put your stuff in the washing machine. There's pizza in the fridge you can warm up in the microwave. I'll go out and have a sniff round. Find out what's happening. You'll be safe here. I never have visitors. Except you, you big bastard.
Thanks, Marty. I owe you.
In my head. Yes, you fucking do. One lousy mistake, choosing the wrong house to burgle. It wasn't a lottery win after all, but a descent into Dante's Inferno. I'd never read the book, but I'd seen pictures, and it seemed the right analogy for my predicament. Simple Willie had performed. He'd lifted a van, not a car. That would serve us better. Nan was still shouting, "Get him out of here." Mr. MT was getting a bit squidgy. Luckily the plastic was secure, but goo was visible under the wrapping. I was glad my stomach was empty, having donated the pizza to Mickey earlier. The street was clear, and we got the corpse into the van. I popped back into the bathroom and used an eye-watering amount of bleach on the bath. "What now, Willie?" Willie looked at me, clueless.
Where are you dumping the body, Marty?
What do you mean, where am I dumping the body? It's your body, Willie. You got it out of the car and into your nana's bath by yourself. Why do you need me now?
Actually, I hadn't asked this earlier because it was important to know where the body was going.
You're my friend, Marty.
That's another friend I hadn't set out to make, and life would be much simpler without them. I had worked out the river was the best place. Water could wash off any forensics that could link Willie or me. Therefore we drove to the river, not the Thames, a tributary of pollution that fed through industrial units to the Thames. The body went in with a splash and floated off, not being weighted. Maybe it would reach the sea, unseen. Right, Willie. We need to torch the van so there are no clues to us. Stick a rag in the filler and I'll light it.
It's Diesel, Marty.
Oh, for fuck's sake. My new name is Simple Marty, and his is Clever Willie. We parked the van away from CCTV and nighttime people, wiped it down, left the keys in the ignition and hoped it would get stolen again, or vandalized or towed. No reason for a link to us or Mr. MT. Okay, Willie, go home. Forget everything. Nana just had bad dreams.
Thanks, Marty, for helping me get rid of the body.
What body, Willie? There never was a body, Willie. You've been listening to Nan's ramblings. She's got dementia. Willie looked confused, so I persisted in memory wiping. Willie, we just went out and chatted. Nice little walk. You've been worried recently about Nan's health. We're good now, Willie. I have to go. We won't be meeting again for some time. You need to rest. Go home. Get a good night's sleep. Problem number 2 to sort. I doubt if my Jedi mind tricks would work on Mickey. At least he was more fragrant when I got back to the flat. The lazy bastard had finished my pizza and just left the dirty plate in the sink. A pair of my pajamas was stretched to bursting point over his big frame, and his genitals kept escaping from the flies. No word on the street, Mickey. Did hear that the prod was in the highwayman asking after your car. Mickey groaned.
It all went bad when my car was nicked. I had stuff belonging to the Morrisons in it. If I don't find it, I'm a dead man.
It won't be lost forever, unless it's been chopped for spares. I liked prodding his mental anguish, not being able to hit him for the time he put my head down the toilet at school and flushed.
The Morrisons have all the chop shops. Prod wouldn't be looking for the car if it had turned up at one of those.
Not as much mental anguish as I was hoping for. Joyriders? But you can't hotwire modern cars. You need the keys.
I don't understand what happened. My keys were missing when I left the pub.
I jumped in quick. You must have dropped them outside. Some chancer saw them and fancied a ride. Bugger, now he might think about Simple Willie. Or you were followed and someone got lucky when he saw you drop the keys. Quick rebound. He mused it over, so I followed up. Who might be following you, Mickey? Who's interested in the Morrisons? Plod wouldn't move your car. More likely to fit a hidden tracker. His eyes lit up. I didn't know why for a second.
It has a tracker! Can I use your computer?
Rhetorical question, as he was at the table and tapping keys before I could answer. I was too busy thinking, I'll have to reformat the hard drive again to lose the files.
I have a password to access the history. If the car is still around, I'll have its location. There, Stratford. How did it get to Stratford?
What you going to do now, Mickey?
You'll have to go to my place and get the spare keys.
Definitely. Another circle of hell. Old Dante was a clever sod. I must read Inferno to find out what happens in the end. So here I am, outside Mickey's place. I'd made a slow approach, checking out that cars in the street were not occupied by watchers. I'd taken the Taj flyers that I'd failed to deliver when Simple Willie grabbed me. That turned out to be a stroke of luck. They were my cover for being in this neighborhood. Did the next street, Mickey Street, then the following street, until all the leaflets gone. Being thorough for an alibi, then back to Mickey's with his door key. My jacket turned inside out and the balaclava on. Walked with a hunch and slightly bandy legs in case seen or photographed. Inside was a bit grungy. Mickey obviously did not do housework, as noted with my pizza plate. The spare keys were in a drawer next to a Swiss Army knife, and I scooped them up. I couldn't resist a look round, even though I knew I should get out as quickly as possible. No books, no surprise. I doubted Mickey was much of a reader. Music taste was heavy metal. That seemed ironic. A half bottle of Jameson's went into my pocket. Then I put my new plan into operation. I'd brought a pack of sandwich bags with me. Into them went several cigarette butts from an ashtray, hairs with roots from his hairbrush. I knew that was important for DNA from watching CSI, and the remains of a sandwich from the kitchen bin. I hadn't thought about what I would do with them, but these might prove useful for a DNA trail away from me. Insurance. A peek through the curtains to see if any activity on the street, and, satisfied all clear, I was out and away. Not happy to see a car going towards Mickey's with the prod driving. I hoped he only saw a scruffy bandy hunchback and didn't recognize me. Mickey was snoring when I got back to my flat after midnight. I didn't wake him immediately. I wanted to enjoy his Jamesons before he took it off me. He had put his clothes from the washing machine on the clothes area in the kitchen. They were nearly dry. Must be the fabric they use. When I get him out of here, I'll be bleaching again, especially down the plug holes. My stash of Mickey DNA was in the bike lockup, the little room given to each flat renter at the back of the building. Time to wake him up. Rise and shine. He was awake in an instant.
Did you park it outside?
What?
My car. Did you park it outside?
I haven't got your car. You sent me to get the keys from your place.
And then pick up the car. I showed you the location map on your computer.
You didn't say that. You said, get my spare keys from the drawer. You never mentioned picking up your motor.
Well, that should have been obvious.
Well, it wasn't. Here are your keys. Off you go.
I can't go out. I might get seen. You've got to go.
I'm not going.
Of course you're going. It's got to be you.
So here I was, cycling to Stratford to pick up Mickey's motor at 1 in the morning. Shit, fuck, damn and blast. Now I'm thinking, I could have had Simple Willie just hide the body in some bushes and swung by now and put it back in the boot where it belonged. Some god is punishing me for the housebreaking. I promise to go straight from now on. Just let me get out of this mess in one piece. At least the street in Stratford was quiet and peaceful. I folded my bike and put it on the back seat. No way was it going in the boot where Mr. Medway had been, to transfer anything forensic in either direction. I headed back to my place, driving nice and law-abiding and hoping to avoid any coppers. I wasn't stupid enough to park outside the flats. I parked outside the Highwayman. It seemed logical. Gave the door handles an interior a wipe-over. Despite wearing gloves, I was taking no chances. Cycling back to my place, I deliberated on what to do. Do I anonymously phone the Morrisons at their club and give them a tip-off, give them enough time to send the prod over to wait for Mickey, or do I just let Mickey clear off? What will be his reaction when he opens the boot and finds it empty? Was it a good idea to slip a Medway Taxi's business card under a seat in case the police ever search it? Should I phone the police and the Morrisons and let them all turn up? I did none of that. I went indoors, gave Mickey his keys and told him where his car was. In his tracksuit and beanie, he was gone. Time for more of my smoke and mirrors. I retrieved my Mickey DNA stash and cycled over to Mr. Medway Taxi's house. The fag ends went in a random pile behind a bush along with the sandwich crust, and I trampled the ground to suggest someone watching the house. A hair with root was placed on a window where it might have attached naturally had someone put their head to the glass to see inside. The Swiss Army knife was used to force another window, and I worked it until a blade broke. Bloody tough these knives, but I managed eventually. Final part of my plan, I banged a car on neighbour's drive to set the alarm off, then legged it through the alley, collected my bike and cycled back to Mickey's place. I hadn't locked the door on leaving, just left it on the latch. The penknife went back in the drawer, closed, the damage was not noticeable. Let the door lock behind me and headed home. Nothing brilliant. Police probably won't investigate. Neighbour might not report. Car alarm too common. I was hoping Mrs. MT might wake and find the attempted break-in and report it. With a missing husband and arson attack on the business, I was hoping she had speed-dialed to the local cop shop. It would still need diligent coppers and someone bagging evidence from the garden and window. 3 things that pointed to Mickey the Hammer should. They have his DNA on record, or if they lifted him any time soon and made a match. He'd know he hadn't been there, but he wouldn't have an alibi while on the run. Smoke and mirrors, wing, and a prayer. Situation assessment. The corpse of Mr. Medway Taxis was floating down the river or caught up somewhere. It was more than likely it would be discovered sooner or later. No forensics back to me. I'd been careful, and every hour in the water was forensic destruction of the outer plastic. The body had no fingers or teeth, just DNA. Had to hope Simple Willie would forget his little adventure and involving me in it. Mickey's car. No tie to me, except for the last journey from Stratford. Back in Mickey's possession, son's deceased. Mickey would still be in the wind as he wouldn't go to the Morrisons. No DNA link between the businessman and the car. Plastic sheet contact only, and that had now been washed by old Father Thames. Willie's DNA might be on it. I had wiped the car, and I don't think he was on record. That was an outside chance. The Morrisons? No doubt they'd been careful and not put their prints on anything. As long as Mickey was absent and no news, they'd be wondering if, when the corpse turns up, they might feel better at some of the unknown becoming known. If that makes the news, Mickey might come back and tell them he'd dumped it and had been keeping a low profile to protect them should anything have gone wrong. Actually, that might work if he has the brains to think about it and the balls to carry it off. Me? I don't want it to go away. I want the boys in blue to trace everything back to the Morrisons, put them inside, and no one to know what my part in it all was. I could then enjoy the money. If that doesn't happen, do I return the cash anonymously or keep it? I think I still need my new crime boss, Scarface. More work on that could wait until tomorrow. I needed my kip. I wasn't certain whether it was in my dream or I really had heard the door open. Not getting enough sleep recently, I had crashed big time, and waking now was incredibly groggy. I only knew it wasn't in my dream when a voice spoke.
Hello, Marty.
I forced my eyes open and to focus. Mum?
I wasn't sure the flat would still be mine. Thought you might have gone and someone else moved in.
It's been 5 years. Where have you been?
You've made it nice. Bit heavy on the bleach, but you've kept it clean.
I sat up and looked at her. Gone was the haggard, grey-skinned female who claimed to be my mother. This woman was clean and groomed, but undeniably my mum.
I'll put the kettle on while you get dressed.
Sitting at the kitchen table, nursing a mug of tea, I was still in a daze that, without a word in 5 years, Mum had reappeared in my life, and not at the best time. I had assumed she'd OD'd and I was alone. I wasn't going to be homeless and too old to be adopted or fostered, so I'd taken up the leaflet job supplemented by my night work and boot sales. What happened, Mum?
Bit of a long story. Hit bottom, then got picked up and attended an addiction clinic. Got clean.
But you never came home, never wrote or phoned. I thought you were dead.
Made a new life away from here. Didn't want to go back to the old ways. Met a man at the clinic and we travelled. He found work in Germany and we've been there. Come home now. You'll meet him tomorrow. You got a new dad, Marty.
Hit me with another shock, why don't you? Apparently, Howard had been a mentor at the addiction clinic, having got clean himself some years before. He'd found Mum in a squat where she'd been shooting up with some guys and rescued her. Gave her a room at the clinic, saw her through her episodes, and when he was given an opportunity to go to Germany, she went with him. They were married in Dresden, she told me. Mum got stuck into housework, something I'd never seen before. Luckily, I'd hidden all the money under the bath, behind a screw-on panel, where it wasn't likely to be discovered. Unless the drug squad came. Mum looked clean, but was she really? I'd like a look in her handbag, but she never left me alone long enough. This was a complication I didn't need right now. I wasn't bonded with my mother. All I can recollect is a woman who brought men home or was too out of it to care for me. It was a relief when she left, and I began to hope she wasn't coming back. I'd grown independent and liked it. The freedom. Suddenly, I was to share the flat with the anonymous mum and a new father.
You'll need to find somewhere to stay, Marty.
What?
You can't stay here. It's not big enough now. My husband and I need it.
What the fuck, Mum? I've kept this place going for 5 years, never missed a rent, paid all the bills. And I have to leave.
It is in my name. You'll be all right. One of your friends will put you up.
My mind quickly ran the list of friends. Dinky, Simple, Willie. That was it. Neither a good choice for rooming with. One could draw the cops down on me, the other the Morrisons, nor could I explain my night shifts when the time came to resume them. I had no references, no bank account to use to persuade someone to rent to me. I wouldn't be liable for council accommodation. Not going to happen, Mum. This is my home now.
We'll see, sweetie. Wait till you meet Howard. He'll know what to do.
I met Howard the following morning. Halfway through my bacon and eggs, there was a knock on the door, and I answered it. Not a glimmer of light shone through, not a single beam or sparkle. The entire doorframe was filled with a black man mountain.
I'm Howard. You must be Marty.
I had to retreat backwards down the hallway as it was impossible to move aside to let him pass. We finally got to the living room.
Howard, you're early.
And Mum threw herself into his arms where I could no longer see her.
And hungry. How about some breakfast?
Marty, cook your dad
Came
some
Mum's
breakfast.
voice from somewhere on Mount Kilimanjaro.
It's all right, Marty. You don't have to call me Dad. 4 rashers, 3 eggs, 2 slices fried bread, And if you've got any baked beans, that would be nice.
It shows how stunned I was that I actually cooked this breakfast and watched him eat it. Mum was right. I'd be moving out. I checked in at the Highwayman. Most customers were absent, but Fingers was having a manicure from Wilma when I approached.
So I'd taken a dump, but it wouldn't flush away. I kept letting the cistern fill up and flushing again, but it kept popping back. In the end, I hit it with a toilet brush. Anyway, fun fact, that's how whack-a-mole was invented.
Wilma laughed uproariously, then noticed me hovering.
What about you, Marty? Want a hand job?
She found this even funnier and took her kid over to her usual table, choking with laughter. I decided to ignore more important things to discuss. All right, Fingers. Not working?
Hi, Marty. Quiet week, keeping out the West End. Copper's doing a PR job of extra undercovers to keep the Home Secretary happy. Might go down to Brighton at the weekend. Tour the conference hotels.
I looked puzzled.
Wear a suit. Put a lanyard round your neck and walk in when they take breaks. Someone always leaves their jacket on a chair and it's easy peasy for a wallet.
That sounds like something I might do in the future. What's the news then, Fingers? All gone a bit dead since the brothers came in for Mickey.
Mickey's long gone. Reckon he's upset the double T's and done a runner.
He was never close enough to have anything on them. He only got hammer jobs on people who upset them, but he'd never know why. Not the brightest turd in the sewer.
No talent.
Carpentry was his best subject at school. I guess that's why he got the hammer work.
What you up to then, Marty?
Had a shock, Fingers. You'll never believe this. Mum turned up this morning.
Liz? I reckon she'd OD'd and was a Jane Doe in the morgue years ago. No offence.
None taken. Thought the same thing myself.
What's she like?
Says she's clean, went through a clinic, picked up a husband along the way.
What's he look like?
See that bloke who's just come in? A lot like that.
Hiya, Marty.
Hello, Howard. Even Big Willie had to look up to Howard.
Pint of bitter, please.
I thought you were clean, Howard.
Off drugs, Marty. Still have the occasional pint.
That didn't sound right. I knew some reformed addicts and they gave up drugs and alcohol. Booze could trip you up, and then you reach for the white powder again.
Who's this?
Howard, meet Fingers. Fingers, meet my new dad. Don't shake hands. You'll never be able to work again. Polite pleasantries were exchanged. I wanted to leave now, but thought I had better not leave these two unattended. Who knew what might be said?
Marty says Liz is back.
Yeah. We've been abroad. Come home now.
Fingers gave me a look. The penny dropped. Abroad, jargon for prison. Mum had got clean in prison, not some clinic. Any plans, Howard? I asked.
Looking for work. Got a few ideas.
This was not looking good. Get the law sniffing around and who knows what might turn up and drag me down. I had to get my stuff out of the flat and find a new place. There was one place that was unoccupied at the moment. I'm guessing no one is looking there any longer. It would do for a week or two while I made plans. It wasn't hard to pick the lock to Mickey's place. I could get a new lock and keys and fit them. Definitely no signs that Mickey had returned. The milk in the fridge was sour cream. I tipped it down the sink. The bathroom, like mine, had a screw-on panel that would be a hiding place for the cash. Neighbours unlikely to question a new tenant. Mickey's reputation dissuaded nosiness. Nipped to the hardware shop and bought a good quality lock and a screwdriver, a bag of groceries from the co-op. In under an hour, the place was habitable and safe. I'd come back at night and bring my gear. Had to plan how to get the cash out without Howard or Mum noticing. Spent the time sorting through Mickey's scant belongings. Threw his clothing in a suitcase that I found on top of a wardrobe. No personal items, not tied to his family. I felt a brief flash of empathy, then I remembered what a bastard he had been at school. I wondered who Mickey was renting from. No rent book around and no bank statements. It wasn't a bad pad as they go, a bit above what I might have expected Mickey to be living in. I hadn't given it much attention on my previous visits, what with being focused on tasks. It wasn't long before I learned the answer. A knock on the door and an old guy looked surprised when I answered.
Sylvia, in?
No.
You her pimp?
What? No. Fuck off. Ah. It was a Morrison property, from which a prossy had operated. Must have kicked her out to give Mickey a place. Best I find somewhere else ASAP. This would do for tonight. Popped home expecting to find Mum and Howard still in, but the flat was empty. I took the bath panel off and counted out 10 grand, leaving the rest there as too much to carry this time because I had to stuff clothing and my laptop into my rucksack as well. It occurred to me that I should do a wipe down to remove as many as my fingerprints as possible. Would not be too much to do because I regularly sanitized the flat and had done some intensive deletion after Mickey's visit. Remembered to clean the filter on the washing machine, where bits of me and him might have accumulated, off the laundry, hair, skin cells, etc. Thought to take some pot noodles with me, so I went to the kitchen cupboard. Surprise, surprise. Little cellophane packets of white powder. Quite a lot of little cellophane packets. So Mum was dealing now and Howard was her partner. They could bring a shitstorm down on me if I stuck around. Maybe I should arrange a shitstorm on them and get my flat back. Some way to convince them the drug squad were onto them? Get them to do a runner? I'll have to give it some thought. I just put the key in the door of Mickey's place and started to open it when I got an almighty thrust in the back and went flying down the hall. I heard the door slam.
Marty, what's going on?
Mickey, thank God you're safe. That puzzled him and gave me more time to think.
Why are you here? And why have my locks changed?
The Morrisons are looking for you. Prod too.
I know that's stupid. Why do you think I'm in hiding?
What have you been up to, Mickey?
I fucked up. I was supposed to do a job and I botched it. I let someone steal my car and it all went to shit.
Mickey sat in a chair and put his head in his hands. I fetched him a big glass of his whiskey, having brought the Jamesons back with me, and got one for myself. I put the TV on for background distraction and it happened to be time for the news.
The body of an unknown male was recovered from the Thames this afternoon by the Thames Barrier. We have a report from Chief Inspector Hargreaves of Scotland Yard.
During maintenance of the barrier today, workmen found what they thought was a large plastic container of rubbish. When they pulled it in, they realized there was a body in it and called the police. At this moment, we do not know the identity of the body. It's a white male, middle-aged, and we are treating his death as murder.
Do you know how he died?
The person has been dead for a few days, and a post-mortem will take place tomorrow. We expect to learn more then.
In other news,
I turned the TV off. Mickey's face had drained of blood and was whiter than Antarctica. Mickey, is that something to do with you? Mickey spilled the beans to me. He'd got a phone call from the prod to turn up to a garage. When he got there, Tony and Tommy put the plastic-wrapped body in the boot of his car and told him to get rid of it. He recognized the boss of Medway Taxis. He'd never seen a dead person before and, driving past the highwayman, decided to have a drink or two while he worked out what to do. Thought it would look less suspicious if he had a game of pool so no one would wonder why he'd chosen the highwayman. When he came out of the pub, the car was gone, with the body still in the boot. He'd gone round the district looking for it but couldn't find it. He couldn't go back to the Morrisons until he had the body and safely disposed of it. He'd gone into JJB Sports first thing next morning and changed his gear. Carried on looking for his motor, but he couldn't ask around, so he'd come to me to set me on the search. I surreptitiously stopped recording on my phone at that point. I was going to keep this bit of recording in case I needed to do a deal with the law. Mickey said he thought his problems were over when we found the car through the tracker, but when he picked it up, the boot was empty. Light bulb moments, thousands of them, illuminating the night sky. I knew exactly what to do. I think I know what happened. I then told a tale of a new crime boss in town. A big black guy called Howard, into drugs, probably a yardie. He was using Medway taxis to move his stuff. When he found the owner was working 2 bosses, he lifted money off him. When Mr. MT disappeared, and we now know why that was, he panicked. He found out that the Morrisons had him and watched their place, saw Mickey in the car being loaded and followed him. Mickey stopping at the highwayman and unluckily dropping his keys was his opportunity. He boosted the motor, dumped the body himself, and abandoned the car. Maybe he thought he was sending a message.
How do you know all this, Marty?
That's an interesting question, Mickey. I know because Howard is living in my flat at the moment. There are drugs in the kitchen cupboards and a stash of money under the bath behind the panel. I took a look at his location tracker on his phone while he was taking a shower. It shows him down at the old docks the night you were in the pub and in Stratford later. I found a Medway Taxis card in his wallet. With what you've just told me, it all fits. Mickey was slowly digesting this. I'd had to ad-lib, so I hope I made it convincing. I fetched more whiskey while I went over the last 10 minutes. Mickey had confessed to his part as an accessory and put the Morrisons and Prod in the frame for murder. He'd named Mr. Medway Taxis as the victim. I'd given a reason for the disappearance of the money and pointed the finger at my big problem, Howard, also known as Scarface in my story. Howard muscling in on the territory of the Morrisons makes him a person of interest and with a motive for interfering. I was giving up the money, less 10 grand, but I might survive. Mickey had a question for me.
What are you doing here, Marty, and why did you change the lock?
Thought I'd wait here to see if you turned up. I didn't want to be at my flat if the Morrisons came after Howard. I changed the lock because I didn't know who might have keys. This is nothing to do with me, but who's going to believe me? Mickey, we need a plan where we both stay breathing. Let that last bit sink in. I was already ahead of the game with an idea. Here's what we're going to do. Phone the Morrisons. No, listen. You tell them you've been undercover, hunting down the man who ripped them off. You dumped the body in the river because you were being followed and thought it was the police. After the dump, you spotted it was a big black guy who had followed you and not the police, but you didn't want to lead him back to the Morrisons. You kept an eye on the home of Medways, and one night you saw this guy again and followed him back to a flat. Don't mention it's my flat, just give the address. Got it?
Think it will work?
Well, we could just stay here and slit our throats. Mickey nodded. I got him to repeat the story back to me until he sounded convincing. Right. Arrange to meet the Morrisons at the flat. Go in with them. Let them search the flat for the money. If they don't find it, go in the bathroom for a pee and suggest, "Have you checked under the bath?" Mickey seemed to come back to life. There was hope in his eyes. I suspect I had hope in mine too. I'm going to go now. Can't take a chance of being associated together. Phone Tony and Tommy when I've gone. Mickey nodded, and, with a prayer, I was on my bike heading back to my flat as fast as I could pedal. I rushed in to find Mum and Howard in front of the TV. For my plan to succeed, it was necessary they left immediately. For fuck's sake. What have you two been up to? You've pissed the Morrisons off and they're on their way over right now with the Prod. Howard was confused. He was a stranger in town, but Mum knew immediately what the danger was. She knew one didn't cross the Morrisons, and maybe they'd learned about their bit of peddling on their turf.
Howard, we have to leave, now.
They grabbed their personals, and, Howard went into the kitchen to get his stock. "Leave it!" I cried. "There isn't time. Look, take this and get as far away from here as you can." I took the 10 grand out of my rucksack and thrust it at him. Dazed, he shoved it in his pockets and Mum dragged him out the flat. I could hear their footsteps running down the stairs. I reckoned I had enough time to take the bath panel off and stuff a fresh 10 grand or so in my rucksack. Put the panel back, but not perfectly, so it could be noticed. Time for me to run. Out on the walkway, I looked down as a couple of Jags tore into the street, followed by Mickey in his motor. I went in the opposite direction as the cars dispelled Tony and Tommy, the prod, and a couple of heavies. Howard and Mum must be clear by now, and if they had seen the cars arriving, they'd know it was no idle threat and a good time to leave town. Bournemouth was nice this time of year. I'd booked into a little B&B at Boscombe and would take a little stroll between the piers, ending up in the lower gardens and having a coffee under the trees, while squirrels played around the tables looking for food crumbs. I met up with Fingers, who'd come down to try his luck in the Bournemouth hotels. He filled me in on the news.
Mickey's back working for the brothers. Apparently they kissed and made up. Your mum and Howard are in the wind. Turned out they were dealing drugs and the Morrisons didn't like any competition. They cleared off just in time as your flat was raided. Good job you'd left for this holiday.
Mum had kicked me out, so I thought I'd come down and think what I ought to do. Lucky me, eh? Fingers gave me an appraising look.
Lucky you. Yes, indeed.
If you've enjoyed listening to Marty's story, you can read it on Kindle. Go to badmanpublishing.com for more books by the author. A sequel to Cat, as in Burglar, is due out in 2026. Marty can't stay out of trouble.